Hey there, so this video has been a long time coming. It's something I've been wanting to talk about, and that is my experience with medications, especially for migraine. So, just disclaimer, I am not a doctor. Your individual experience is yours. Everybody is different, so please don't take my experience with these medications to be the end-all be-all. Many people have different experiences with these medications, so just bear that in mind. This is not meant to be prescriptive in any way. It's merely meant to be a springboard, so that if you are interested in any of these medications or you think that they might work for you in your situation, you can ask your doctor about them and see if it would be something that can be worked into your care plan. So, for my migraines, the three medications that I tried before I got to my current medication regime is that I had tried Ubrelvy, Qulipta, and Topamax. The Ubrelvy and the Qulipta, I couldn't really tell honestly if they were working. So like I would take them and they were mainly like used as abortives. And so I would take them when I felt like a migraine was coming on, but my migraines at that time were so like transient, they would come and go. And so I might take the medication and my migraine might go away, but that was pretty normal for me too. So it was really hard to tell if the medication was really working. And over time, it just seemed that it wasn't. So that's when we switched to Topamax. And Topamax also because when I was having complex tics, we thought that I might be having seizures, especially because I had like deja vu and like other kind of, I guess they're now kind of put under the migraine category. So the Topamax was weird for me. I had a lot of strange symptoms, like strange side effects with that one. For me, I had like a metallic taste. And like I would get this weird sensation like my brain was getting like vacuumed out of the back of my head, which was very strange and concerning. And so I asked to be taken off of that, which we did. Something I didn't mention with the Ubrelvy and the Qulipta, I was also like losing my appetite and like just food didn't sound good. Like I would eat food, but like nothing ever really sounded great. So that was strange too. So what I moved on to, so just a kind of additional context is that those medications, the Qulipta, the Ubrelvy, and the Topamax were all prescribed before I knew that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And they were prescribed before my current neurologist. And thankfully, my current neurologist like has advanced understanding of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and what works for Ehlers-Danlos patients. And one of the biggies in Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is like nerve pain and pain. You can get like muscle tension just because like you don't have the same kind of structural support. You have the joint hypermobility, so things just kind of like in my understanding get compressed. And so what's used off-label nowadays for Ehlers-Danlos patients in some cases is SNRIs, which are actually an antidepressant. It's a serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. And so we started with those, and I started with Venlafaxine, which is the generic form of Effexor XR. And I would say within the first week, I was noticing a big difference. And side effects wise, initially, like the main things that I remember experiencing were like a little bit of dizziness and like a lot more feelings of euphoria if you've had migraines and experienced that kind of like high blissful kind of experience. I had that, and then I also like had this day, like I get a lot of like sensory overload in general, but I noticed that like when I went to church, I think it was the first or second day that I had started the Venlafaxine, it was like I could just take in the entire environment and it wasn't like hurting my ears, and that was really cool. And so I was on the Venlafaxine for about 5 months, and then I started to have like night sweats, which was not new to me. I'd had night sweats before, but this was like becoming like a nightly thing. And so I reached out to my provider, my neurologist, because I have so many symptoms. It's hard to tell, like, okay, is this the medication or is this just a part of my conditions that I've been diagnosed with. So Venlafaxine can cause night sweats. So for me, it was happening nightly, and I was not sleeping well, and I was starting to have to take showers out of my normal routine. And so she suggested that I switch over to Duloxetine, which is the generic form of Cymbalta, which is also an SNRI, I think. And I've been on that for about coming up on 3 months, I believe. And it was a little rough for a day or two coming off of the Venlafaxine, like that day, like I would say between that last dose, because you have to kind of like taper off. I was at like 150 milligrams on the Venlafaxine, and so we gradually tapered off. And I felt really, really like terrible one day, just kind of like down and like tired and just like emotionally exhausted from doing nothing. And I started to have the, like, I think it's the same as like what some people call brain zaps. For me, it sounds like there's a DVD disc player in my head and it's like stuck, and it's like like maybe there's a scratch on the disc and it's like trying to read the disc, but it's having to stop and like go and stop and go, like that kind of like that's the noise that was like happening in my head when I was coming off of the Venlafaxine. And I also would experience a lot of dizziness. So I started to notice those symptoms, like especially if I ever missed a dose, which thankfully was not often, with the Venlafaxine. It would be the dizziness and the weird DVD disc player noise. And so I would say that was the hardest part of transitioning onto the Duloxetine. And so far the Duloxetine has been doing great. I've had much fewer night sweats. I've also adjusted so that I am basically just sleeping with a sheet when I need to. And yeah, so that's been helpful. I do feel like it is still helping to prevent my migraines. I do notice, and this has been for pretty much any medication that I've tried for migraines, like if there's a storm coming in, or like the weather's changing, I still get migraines, and that's when I use the abortives that I have, which are naratriptan and rizatriptan. And the rizatriptan is like a stronger triptan, and the naratriptan is a weaker triptan. And I was initially given the rizatriptan and would notice that like I would have this like nose burning sensation and like tingling, and which is like normal, but it was like concerning to me, so that I brought it up with my neurologist, and she said that I could try the naratriptan. And something that actually she said that I found really helpful, she herself experiences migraines and takes rizatriptan, and so she kind of reframed it, I guess, psychologically, in that she said she actually enjoys that feeling with the rizatriptan because she knows that it's working. So I think that's actually kind of helped me deal with that kind of like side effect from the medication. Like I know that it's not hurting me. It's just the way that it's a way for me to know that it's working. That being said, I do have to look out for certain other medications because you can have like serotonin syndrome, I think it is, or serotonin toxicity. If you're having like an SNRI and a triptan together, is my understanding. Like, I think one time a pharmacist warned me that having a certain like cold medication could increase that as well, and can cause like racing heart and stuff. So something to be aware of. But yeah, I just wanted to share my experience with this because I know like there's a lot of horror stories out there, especially about SNRIs and like coming off of SNRIs, which, you know, I got a little taste of that and I can see why people like post those stories. I think for me, like it's any kind of risk with the withdrawal has been well worth it for my quality of life now. Like I was having multiple migraines a day, was completely exhausted at the end of the day, and was having a hard time functioning in life in general. And so these have honestly helped me get my life back. And I just wanted to make you aware of like other medications and supplements that I take, because those can also like affect symptoms and people's experience with medications. So just so that you have that context, I am also on norethindrone. It's a birth control. It's like the brand name is Erin, and I'm specifically on that pill rather than like an estrogen or combination pill because I've had blood clots. And I also take magnesium and vitamin D. So yeah, I can show you, sorry, I didn't mean to grab the camera that way. I can show you kind of like what these meds look like in the spelling. I've marked out, let's see, how do I want to do this? I'll just kind of hold them up here. I've marked out my personal information, but this is the Venlafaxine, that's how you spell it. It's a big old long word. So the brand name of this is Effexor XR. And the Duloxetine, this is the generic form of Cymbalta. And so those are the migraine preventatives that I use. So I take those daily. And then the abortives that I use on top of the preventative in case like I have a breakthrough migraine are naratriptan and rizatriptan. And so they come in their separate little breakout packets. And there is like a limitation on how many of those you can take in a month. So that I think it's so that you don't have like that serotonin toxicity. But yeah, like if you are interested in seeing if those are something that might work for you, I think it might be worth talking to your doctor about. They've certainly been helpful for me. And yeah, so that's been my experience with them. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful. Bye.